Right here, you're looking at the only Alabama quarterback to win the Heisman Trophy. Doesn't sound real, does it? Or maybe it does. There's this weird phrase that's been said before that, despite being weird, kinda has a general truth to it. Quarterback face. That's a real thing. At least that's what it seems like. I look at Bryce Young and he has quarterback face. There is more to just someone's facial structure. That isn't necessarily what it means fully, to me at least. When I think of someone who has quarterback face, I think of Joe Burrow, Jimmy Garoppolo, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, and the reason being their leadership skills, the words and facial expressions they give to reporters, the level-headedness they play with, and sometimes something just as simple as their ability to smile in the face of adversity. Those are some of the characteristics of quarterback face. I think Bryce Young has that, and then he adds the ability to make off-balance throws, extend plays outside the pocket, and once he does, it's anyone's guess if he's going to thread it past the defender or run past everyone. So what the top quarterback prospect brings to the table is the clean-cut look, attitude, and smile, along with his incredible play as a quarterback, and people are talking about his size. My question isn't why is this being brought up with him, but why is it even being brought up at all? It shocks me that you will still find people, pretty well-known people at that, all around the sports world who have sat down in front of a camera and still use that excuse that Bryce Young is not big enough to play quarterback, and that's why they have questions about him. Forget Drew Brees, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, and Michael Vick, I guess, who, by the way, he has the potential to be as good, if not better, than all of those guys. You don't play at a record-breaking level in the hardest conference in college football by mistake. And in the upcoming draft, Bryce Young will be the furthest thing from for any team that's smart enough to draft him. Cough, cough, Carolina. The few simple yet extremely gripping facts as to why Young, in my opinion, clears all quarterbacks in this class, which by the way is very deep, is because of what he's done in just 2 short years at Alabama, which is becoming the best quarterback arguably that Alabama's ever had. And to me, that's not an argument, that's the fact. He is that, in my opinion, but I'll let you say what you want to me in the comments. The resume I'm gushing about goes something like this. In his 27 career starts at Alabama, he won 24 games, took them to the national championship in his first year starting. He set the Alabama record for passing yards in a season with 4,872. The Alabama record for passing touchdowns in a season with 47. He has the most 5-touchdown games in Alabama history with 5. The most passing yards in a single game in Alabama history with 559, and in 2 years, he's second all-time in career passing yards at Alabama with 8,356, and in passing touchdowns with 79 in 2 years. Yeah, that was a lot, and it's not that he had much competition, even though lately Alabama quarterbacks have been making a name for themselves in the NFL. It's not about the former alums that he's passed, but the fact that he set those records at the most dominant school in the past few decades in the best conference in college football. All of those records mean something. It's not just a stat to look at and say, oh wow, shrug your shoulders and move on. Not for teams that are looking at him to turn their franchise around. To them, it's a reason to believe, and more importantly, know that drafting the 5'10", 204-pound quarterback will be the best decision that they've made in the past 10 years. Nothing is more scary than an underdog who has a reason to be pissed off. I could be stretching the narrative a bit, to be fair, but I have heard people say that he won't work in the NFL, and quite honestly, they can piss up a rope. I think this play is the ultimate example that shows what you get out of Bryce Young on a consistent basis. This was week 2 against Texas last season down in the red zone. The defense is man-to-man across the board with a double buzz look, and it's a pretty easy read for someone like Young, especially down here. It's an expected coverage with spread. Young here is going to have to evade pressure after about 1.5 seconds. He pump fakes. He's able to start to his right and come back to his left, where he starts to roll out and then throws this incredible pass. 3 guys bearing down on him, and he gets rid of the ball rolling to his left, which is always harder for right-handed QBs. He throws the ball as he's torquing his body from left to right and falling backwards, all in one motion. And the throw is an absolute dime high and away to Jahmyr Gibbs. The throw is one thing, but it's the fact that he was able to just get his feet set and spin his body while his momentum was taking him the complete opposite direction. It's incredible. Because we tend to see this from Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar almost every week, we tend to think that this is normal, but it's not. It's not something that every quarterback can do. In fact, there's only pretty much a handful of QBs that can do this, especially the way that he did it. These next two videos are from the same game versus Arkansas in 2021, and they show you and everyone else watching the intelligence that Young plays with every single game. He'll look to throw the ball until the very last part of his body crosses the line of scrimmage. When it comes to extending plays and keeping his eyes downfield, he's textbook, and mainly because he always goes to the right place. He isn't afraid to take the check down if he needs to. In this first video, watch how he wants to go to Jameson Williams. He knows he has time, but once he knows he's running out of it, he doesn't hesitate and he escapes the pocket. And look at his eyes and body, always facing his target. And he scans the entire field in what feels like 2 seconds and makes a sidearm throw to his wide open check down for a TD. Simple but deadly. He did this almost every week. Plays where you think he's going to run, and he easily could if he feels like it, but that's not in his game. He is a throw first guy. This next play, same old story, kind of the same look. Pocket breaks down, rolls to the right, and you see his eyes and his body stay focused on their targets, and he throws a C to his receiver running the opposite direction. Once again, simple but deadly. It's always the simple things that will make or break a lot of prospects. Another two videos from the same game, Auburn in 2021, and two of what I think are arguably his best plays of his career so far, and they came on the same drive. Down a TD with a minute left. This first play, Young doesn't just show his arm strength, but his velocity, which is vital for throws like this to the sideline in tight coverage and down in the red zone when windows are tighter. Here he's going to drop and throw a 20-yard dime towards the sideline with the corner draped all over his receiver. And he had to fit it in the smallest space, and he did. With the game on the line and no margin for error, 1 inch behind, and that could be a pick if the defender turned his head. But Young threw it where his guy, and only his guy, could make a play on it. This second play came later in the drive to the same receiver as well. Young drops back and throws down the right sideline high and away, once again where his guy and only his guy can make a play on it. To come within a point in the clutch, Bryce Young delivered. These throws are everything you want and more, and the fact that it came against a rival team in the final moments, it's almost like too perfect. It would be almost too perfect of me too to consider them his best throws of his career, because it's just everything you want. But that's what it is. He's damn near perfect sometimes. And to be fair, it's fitting. It's fitting for someone like him. This is what he does. Bryce Young is a pro in every sense of the word. No moment is too big for him, no window is too small for him, and no play is impossible. Especially when it comes to extending plays and making things happen outside of the pocket. He's one of the best I've seen at doing it in the last 10 years. You could say he's the best, and I wouldn't argue with you. I get that there's streakiness at points during quarters, during seasons, but when you think big picture, when you think of Bryce Young, you say, that's a guy who can't be compressed to a small man. He can't shrink in the moment. It's not in his DNA to fold under pressure. I like the way his name sounds too. It's a fitting name for a guy who shows up in biggest moments. I can't really explain why. But I can't explain his physical gifts either. So Nick Saban said it too when asked about his size concerns. He's done it as well as anybody. When Coach Saban gives praise too, it's taken seriously, and maybe it makes some doubters sit back and think, maybe I'm wrong about him. Maybe I'm wrong about the guy who's had a 91 passing grade the past 2 seasons. I'm happy to be on the side that believes, and not only believes, but knows. A storied man in a storied program, these are things that are imagined but rarely fulfilled, and I want people to know his story will continue. If I'm Carolina, I'm all in. With someone like Frank Reich, who's had almost every quarterback start for the Colts in the past 5 years, it feels like, he's made Jacoby Brissett look serviceable. He's a quarterback's best friend, a great head coach, and his team is on the clock in about a month. Bryce Young could be your guy if you make the move, but no team should be afraid if they have the opportunity to pull the trigger on Bryce Young. If you want him, go get him, because I promise you'll be happy you did. I'd be lying if I said I didn't see some Holmes in him, some Rodgers in there. I know deep down there's something, even if we don't know it for sure yet. I can have all the hunches, but I guess you truly never know until you know. One thing is for sure though, I've seen greatness. We witness it all the time from the most prominent athletes. So when you see greatness, you just know it. Even if the guy is 5'10" and 204 pounds. Even if there's questions about ups and downs, those will never vanish for any prospect. Plays like the ones Bryce Young make translate to the league, and if he gets in the right situation early, I pray for the other teams in that division. Bryce Young hears the noise and flushes it out. He doesn't care. Shit, if I was 5'10" and made 6'4" guys afraid of me, I wouldn't either.